at the CVS, they built these big, huge islands in the parking lot. There was a reason for them to do it, but it really didn't fix the problem with the traffic into the parking lot. And I know it was this was a few years ago, but still, it doesn't make any logical sense to spend all that money on that when they could have maybe looked at the pedestrian access and the traffic in regards to making it safer for everybody, not just the cars. Whatever was decided and why it was accepted
That's
really
fine.
didn't meet the need, and it
I
didn't.
understand what you're saying, and I think that should this group be formed, they can be put into the loop as far as site plan review and things of that nature to have some input. I mean, I think that would be a good role for them to play. You know, so that it's just another set of eyes and ideas, or a little different focus to ensure that it's incorporated into any plan or considered at the appropriate time. But I just want to make sure that we don't get into any turf wars over who's looking at what. And again, you know, as far as LUC, you know, putting these walking trails through, sure, I mean, I'm sure they're considering access to it and parking and how people are gonna be, you know, able to do it. And if they can build some of these trails, knowing that all the needs can't be met as far as accessibility for pedestrian walking, that doesn't mean they're gonna stop until they get it, you know. So, that was my,
Yeah.
you know, my thoughts.
If I just may add, because I know we should be moving on, but
Right.
I think what the overlapping that a committee like this does have, and the reason why it has it, is because we're concentrating on the pedestrian. That's the important issue. The sidewalks and the roads is real estate that pedestrians use. So it's important that we understand there is always is gonna be an overlapping from all committees, as long as we're talking about pedestrians, because they will overlap by the nature of a pedestrian. You know, with that in mind, because we should go forward, what I will do, I'll relook at the membership.
Excuse me, this was my suggestion, I don't know what the rest of the representatives, Sean's carrying it down too, I don't know about Joe or Bob. But
This is, you want to know what my recommendation is at this point? I think it's a good idea to scratch the LUC, the DPW and CPC, and, you know, add the safety officer, at least some form of liaison,
the school committee,
and school committee, because of the schools, and just come back to us with, you know, and talk to these people and come back to us then with a proposed organization, and let's move
Okay.
forward. I think overall, it's a good idea. It can't hurt, and, you know, I think the cautions that have been raised associated with, well, people come back with lots of good ideas, but they're not necessarily affordable at the time. But at the same time, I think that there are some things that can be done, clearly, and we certainly have to deal with this bylaw, the snow removal bylaw again coming up, so.
I still feel strongly that I don't necessarily want to see that issue in this venue. I think we need to hash it out.
Well, I think what he's proposing here is that they
I
come
know.
back with a recommendation for a change to the bylaw. If they can, you know, that still doesn't mean that we support it, but it's an idea of, you know, having a communication well in advance of October town meeting, as I suspect is when we're gonna be dealing with this.
But if you're talking about say a 7-person committee and only one business representative there, I don't think that would necessarly properly get
Well,
it aired out.
maybe it should be 2 business members, so.
But that may just be for this one issue. It isn't necessarily for what we're looking to accomplish here either. I mean, that's why I think this is maybe what precipitated a lot of the discussion that we're engaging in here. But I see the issue that needs to be resolved immediately in relation to the snow removal issue as somewhat of an aside, particularly in relation to the bylaw. If we're going to get some immediate resolution to it and a clear understanding as to what the expectations are and what the enforcement actions are going to be.
Well, I see their role as attempting to assist us in reformulating that bylaw. And I'm sure this committee can go out there and research what other communities have done and come back and propose as an advisory committee, come back and propose to us a reformulated bylaw that covers snow and ice removal. We don't have to adopt it, but they may be able to do much of the legwork for us,
Mhm.
and we can take it from there. I think that would be a proper function for it.
If they're going to tackle this issue, then my suggestion is, and you can have one voting member or two to the business side, it's okay. But I would also charge them with the responsibility of communicating well and often with the chamber, the local chamber, before anything comes before us for consideration. Because I don't want the chamber to be necessarily hearing about this, or saying, okay, there's gonna be a public hearing on the proposed bylaw changes or enforcement action, all the rest, and have to come here and hear it for the first time. I think if we're going to charge them with this responsibility of advising us on it, and they're gonna do the legwork for us, which is greatly appreciated, let's do it well and communicate it well within the business community so that there's no misunderstanding as to where anybody's coming from with their ideas. And their ideas may be very helpful, because we had 2 or 3 members that were willing to step forward and be a part of the solution, getting this thing effectuated. So,
Okay. I want to get this thing through, and I think it's necessary that we do. I don't want to weigh us down right now. Time is getting late. More than glad, to look at this again with the membership, and see if we can get a balanced membership that would be reflective of the community, not weighted, as you mentioned earlier, well, you or Bob, I'm not sure, but you don't want it to be weighted on one side versus the other. You want it to be well-balanced, okay? And the business community is part of that, as is the high schools and the seniors and regular people. So I'll be more than glad to come forward with this. I'll meet with these people and have something for the next meeting.
Okay? Okay with everybody?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time you've already put in.
Okay, getting on to this, the budget hearing and the next meeting schedule. We'll go over that all at once here. Our first meeting in May, the normal cycle would be May 3rd, the day before election. I'm going to recommend that the board hold reorganization meeting that's typically been held after an election on Thursday, the 6th. It'd be a short, very short meeting, 7 o'clock. And then the next meeting is scheduled for May 17th. And on the 3rd, what I would like to set forth is the board have its FY11 budget hearing, public hearing on the 3rd. And that on the 17th, we vote on the budget that's going to be presented to town meeting. Now, the school committee has elected to have their public hearing on April 26th, next Monday night. And I'm going to recommend that all that can attend that meeting, please attend.
That's when again, I'm sorry?
It's the 26th. It'll be in, I believe, in a small group room at the middle school.
Based upon your conversations at the finance planning team meeting, what is it that, at their budget hearing, what scenario or scenarios are going to be aired out?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
It's a very, very good
Because, you know,
question.
I can go to the meeting, but if I'm not going to hear what the game plan's going to be,
Well-
what good, you know.
They claim to be about $300,000 short, although they've been a little vague about it.
It's better, though, than where they were.
A lot better,
Yes.
yeah.
To be congratulated for that.
There have been a couple of changes that have been made to the revenue plan as a result of analyzing local receipts. There's also, what's coming out of the House budget is that the local aid was reduced by, help me, Greg, was it 125 or 175?
State aid was down 125.
125 on chapter 70, and that will be taken out of the number that the school committee was given to work with. However, they are getting that in additional ARA funding that'll be put in as an offset to the school budget. If you look at the school budget book, right, the number that they're looking for out of town revenue is a number, and it's a number that's not their entire budget. Their entire budget includes offsets that have been put into the book to reduce that number, and those offsets are, right now, probably a couple of $1 million. And they include ARA funds that they carried over into this year, IDA money that they've got additionally, and then their transportation fees, their athletic fees, and other funds that,
Much of that funding that you just mentioned have restrictions on them, though, or?
The ARRA money has
Right.
no restrictions.
Okay.
the IDEA money, one half of it, which is approximately $130,000, which they've now applying to the budget, has some restrictions, and they're working their, my understanding is they're working their way through that. Greg and I are meeting tomorrow to kind of go over some final numbers to make sure that, in fact, we're as close as we can be. The numbers in the revenue plan do not, they include a 11% health insurance increase that we hope to change that number and to an approximate savings, $400,000. And obviously that requires some effort on our part and the school committee associated with negotiating with the various unions to accept those proposed changes. That's about where we are. Greg has gone through the budget, and as you recall, when we reviewed the budget, it was a level-funded budget. There were a number of items that some of us felt needed to be addressed and changed, and I believe that he's prepared to go through those and make his recommendations, and then we can take a position on it this evening. But getting back to the schedule, so the schedule of the come back here, make sure I get these dates right. The 26th is the school budget hearing. Maureen is preparing a presentation. She's waiting for some input from us, which she'll get tomorrow. Then I'm proposing May 3rd, that we will vote on the budget. May 7th, I'm sorry, public hearing. May 17th, we'll vote on the budget. And then May 31st is, I believe, the
Memorial Day,
Memorial Day.
right?
So, and then the budget hearing is, the town meeting is on the 7th, so if we need a meeting, if we don't have all this resolved by the 17th, then, I'd recommend that we have a meeting sometime between maybe the week of the 24th or sometime that week, just to finish up any remaining issues. But it looks like the state local aid is holding up to the 4% cut with the adjustment that was made to Chapter 70 using ARA funds. That number is exactly the same number that the Senate gave out, but it's funded a little differently.
I'm sorry, that 4% does not include that 125,000?
The 4% cut was the Senate number, right? And the House number does the same thing, only differently. The cut on Chapter 70 is deeper, but
In the Senate? Or in the House?
in the House. But it's supplanted by must be the leftover ARA money, $125,000. So that will end up as an offset in the school budget rather than a number that town meeting would vote on.